role.
There was a concern when the Taliban took over, after that chaotic departure from Kabul, that the data that the Taliban would then gain would lead to reprisals, would lead to retributions on a huge scale. That has not happened, thank goodness. But I don't disagree. There are big questions as to how the MOD operates, because I'm afraid this isn't the first time that there's been a leak of data of this nature.
A major incident's been declared after a coach bringing children back from a school trip crashed in Somerset this afternoon. The vehicle reportedly left the road near Wedden Cross, around 7 miles away from Minehead. A number of people are in hospital. Police say around 60 to 70 passengers, many of them children, were on board. Sir Keir Starmer's suspended MP Diane Abbott from Labour for a second time after she stood by controversial comments she made about racism. 2 years ago, she compared the prejudice experienced by Jewish people to that experienced by redheads. Labour says it's investigating. Fiona Sharp from the Labour Against Anti-Semitism campaign told LBC the comments are deeply offensive.
Diane Abbott should know, being that she has one of the largest ultra-Orthodox communities as part of her constituency, that there are many, many Jews who are clearly visibly Jewish. And it is incredibly offensive to them and to the rest of us for her to just dismiss that out of hand.
A murder investigation's begun in Merseyside after an elderly couple died in a suspected arson attack. 77-year-old Peter Eric Greener and his partner Sheila Jackson, who was 83, were taken to hospital after a fire at their home on Tuesday. Emergency services were called to the St Helens area in the early hours. The Conservative and Reform have criticised government plans to lower the voting age to 16. Labour made the commitment in its manifesto and wants to bring the whole of the UK in line with Scotland and Wales. But the Tories have questioned why 16 and 17-year-olds can vote but not drink, while Reform has questioned the government's motives. In the city, the FTSE 100 has closed up 46 points at 89.72. The pound buys $1.34 and €1.15. LBC weather, showers for Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales and Western England tonight, dry and clear elsewhere, a low of 11. Scattered showers for Northern Ireland and North West Scotland tomorrow, dry with sunny spells elsewhere and isolated showers, highs of 30 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Daisy Steele.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Ian Dale.
Look at you in that dress, girl, you dangerous like a gun. Give them you nothing less, girl, you murder everyone. Your love is a killer, baby girl. Your love is a killer, baby girl. Yeah, look at you. Oh no 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 no. You murder the Oh no 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 no. You murder the Oh no 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 no. You murder.
And you're listening to Capital Radio. It's 4 minutes. Oh, sorry, LBC. It's 4 minutes past 8 here on LBC. Now, we don't play music, but if we did, that song would be played on my show every single day. It's what's called a banger, ladies and gentlemen. It's called Dangerous Love. It's by Fuse ODG, and he joins me in the studio for the next hour. And you may think, why have I got a singer on for an hour on LBC? Well, Fuse, you're not just a singer. You've got, shall we say, definite views on things, haven't you?
Definite, yeah. From my African lens, yeah, definite. Know who I am.
And you also have a new album out called Spirit of New Africa. And that's what I really want to concentrate on.
Yes.
For certainly the first part of the hour is what I found when I heard the songs from this album is that it's a much more reflective album than you've done before. Mm-hmm. It's not the banging hit like that one was.
Yes.
It's much more reflective. And the lyrics, you listen to the lyrics and every song has a meaning, which is not always the case in the music world, is it?
Yeah. So the first album was really about, you know, I keep saying that showcasing Africa in a positive light, you know, just focusing on our powers and all the beautiful things about the continent, counteracting, you know, some of the other images that was put out by, you know, mainstream media, and that's why the music was so colourful, just to get people moving and dancing and actually getting Africans to be proud of their culture, because for too many years we've been ashamed of who we are because of how we were perceived and how we were told we used to be slaves rather than us being kings. So the energy was that let's just celebrate the culture. That's what the first album was about, and for us to instill that sense of pride. And through that movement, This Is New Africa, which was the album, we actually managed to achieve that. Right now there's so much pride in being African, and when you actually are proud of who you are, you want to know more. Like whatever team that you love, you want to know whether they win a match, or if they lose a match, why did they lose a match? So there's this sense of self-knowledge that people want to know more about themselves, and I feel like that's where we're at, and that's why this album is more like it's a spirit of New Africa. So it's really it's on a psychological ground, and us really learning about who we are, and that's why every song is quite reflective, as you're saying. I'm really trying to remind people of who they are, rather than what the world told them who they are. And again, the album even comes with an educational app, School of New Africa, which teaches our history as well. So there's songs on there that gets elaborated on the app. So, and everybody can have access to it. It's actually free now.
There's been quite a period between the first album and the second album.
Yes, so
and you became quite famous with the first album.
Yes.
Why such a gap?
So there's 3 albums. So the first album is Tina, This Is New Africa. That was 2015, and the second album was New African Nation. That's the one that have a collaboration with Ed on there called Bwame. Ed Sheeran, and that was 2021, and then this album 2025 is Spirit of New Africa. I think it's because I have to also go through life and learn, you know, and whenever you're working on an album, it's not really about rushing the project, because every album has been significant. This Is New Africa was more mental, and it was more intangible, right? And then New African Nation was more tangible because we became a nation of proud Africans. And this one is tapping back into that psychology of us learning about who we are. So every album, I've had to go through life and I've had to learn more about who I am and learn more about how the world sees us and how can I let it translate into the music. And that's really what The Gaps is about.
Because a lot of artists will be producing an album, particularly if they have a really successful album, they'll produce one a year.
Yeah.
But you can't do that, can you? Because, I mean, you really immerse yourself into it.
Yes.
Have you written all the songs?
I've done all the songs.
Yeah, so you can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I make songs all the time. But when you're making an album, it's really about telling a story. And that's what this album really does. It just takes you on a journey, and it really makes you reflect on how the world sees, you know, Africans, and you could just see that I just want us to live in our truth, just like every other culture. And that really comes across on the album, you know.
Somebody says, what just happened, Ian? Have you been hacked? I think it's when we play the music.
Listen, Ian is my biggest
Another one
fan,
says the big D is in the house. You're absolutely right there. But I'm going to introduce a bit of a controversial note, because George has sent in a text which says, sorry, Ian, I don't have the slightest interest in Africa and suspect very few of your audience do also. Now, I don't think he's right on that, because, I mean, we do cover quite a few African issues on the programme from time to time. We've done war in Congo and Sudan, but it tends to be, if there's a big news story, then we'll cover something. Yeah. But the fact that he's got no interest in Africa, do you think that is in part because, frankly, the general media has little interest in Africa?
Yeah, I mean, it's not his fault, technically, why he has no interest in Africa, because his perception of Africa is the world's view of how they see Africa, right? If he experienced the Africa that I experienced, he would definitely have an interest in it. If he understood the contribution of Africa to the world, he would actually respect Africa. The reason why he doesn't respect Africa is because he has no idea the contribution of what Africa has given to the world. The world that we see today, Africa paved the way, shed the light for the world to see today. And I'm talking about mathematics. The first mathematicians were born in Africa. You know, the first calculator, the Lobombo bone, I'm talking 10,000 years ago, like the first, you know, tool that was used as a mathematical instrument was born in Africa. So once you understand our contributions to the world, you would actually respect Africa. For example, the first street light was brought to Europe by Africans. A lot of people don't know this. So I think it's lack of education, and that's why he feels the way that he feels. The reason why I'm okay to be interested in UK affairs and in American affairs is because of how I've been brought up. I've been educated to love the UK. Our curriculum, even in Africa, in Ghana, is the British curriculum. So we grew up loving the British because you guys brought us up. So I understand how he feels because he's been brought up to love himself. And that's why my position as an artist and as a human being and as an African is so important, because I want the world to understand and have a perspective from an African lens so they can respect it, because we have so much power in our culture. And how he feels, actually, Africans, sometimes a lot of Africans feel the same as him, because we were brought up again by the British curriculum and by, you know, the British standards. So a lot of us, even our beauty standards, is based on Europe standards. So there's a lot of self-hate even in the African community, and it's just lack of education. And that's why I'm here. That's why a lot of us are here, trying to educate the world of, you know, some of our contributions, so people can understand that you have to respect us, because the world wouldn't exist today without our contribution. Yeah,
and I think that is absolutely true, and that the lack of understanding of general African history. I mean, I think many people in this country will understand a lot of South African history, but when you say the word Africa, if you went out into Leicester Square now and just put a microphone under people's noses and said, if I say to you the word Africa, what do you think? What's the first thing that comes into your mind? I wonder what the answers would be. I mean, you probably know, but I suspect that people treat Africa as a single entity. It obviously is a continent, just like Europe is. But you've got a song on the album, 54 Countries, which I think does a brilliant job in showing how diverse the African continent actually is. But let's hear a little clip of that song.
Yes, sir.
Oh, has he queued it up? I'm not on the text. 54 countries, it's on your list.
Whilst they cue it.
Said she wanna go Africa, I said that's 54 countries. And every place, different caliber, different flavors, tell me what you need. How far? Hurry up, I'm about to leave. Been in Babylon way too long, gotta get that break, that pedal and screech. I got plugged in, then plugged in, and more plugged in.
And then you go on to talk about the different parts of Africa, the different countries. And when you listen to all the things that you go through, you think, well, this is equally as impressive, diverse, as if you were doing the same song about Europe.
Exactly. So it takes you on a journey across the continent, and it makes you want to go there. And I think that's what's beautiful about traveling to the continent. When you go to any country in Africa, you fall in love, and it makes you want to come back over and over again. And Ghana has proven that over the years. Again, like, it is so sad that, you know, I don't even know his name. He said that he has no interest in Africa, but it's because of his lack of education. And I say that I don't hate him for it, but it's the system that brought him up that's made him feel like that. And that's why it's important for us to have our own systems, to also build our own people to love themselves, and to also change the lens of how the world sees us.
Caroline says some of the most beautiful art in the world is African too. And you could possibly make an argument that African art, I mean, when you look at some of the art in some of the ancient caves, would European art exist without African art there before it?
It wouldn't. Again, the world would not exist as it is today without Africa.
Tell me about Ghana, because now you were born in Ghana.
I was actually born in Tooten, but I grew up in Ghana.
That's not as glamorous.
I know, right? But I grew up in Ghana.
Right.
Yeah, I grew up in Ghana up to secondary school. I came back secondary school. And when I came back, that's really when I realized that, wow, like, there's a lot of hate for Africa, because even my African accent wasn't cute. You know, people were making fun of my accents. And again, it wasn't just coming from, white people. It was coming from other black kids of Caribbean descent, because they didn't want to associate themselves with Africa, because everything that's associated with.
That's really interesting.
Because everything that we were taught in school.
I don't know how much in
Ian.
the last hour you listened to about Diane Abbott and her comments today, but effectively we spent a lot of the hour talking about this so-called hierarchy of racism.
Yeah.
So you're saying that effectively the kids from Caribbean descent saw themselves as somehow more superior to you.
Exactly. And that's how tiered the self-hate was and the racism was. So as a Caribbean, they felt like they didn't want to associate. But I don't blame the children who didn't want to associate with Africa, because when I got into history class, they told me that I was a slave. And I'm coming from beautiful Ghana, where I'm having a great time, where I'm seeing, so many amazing things from my country. I've come back to the UK, and they're telling me that I used to be a slave, rather than the truth that I know now, which is we used to be emperors, we used to be inventors, we used to be the first surgeons. There were so many things that we were that they don't really remind us of in school. So of course the Caribbean kids are going to disassociate themselves from their roots, because we're saying that they used to be slaves. We're saying they used to be all these negative things.
And that's the root of what you're writing this album about, isn't it? To try and recreate that sense of, if I say nationalism, that word has got a sort of bad thing.
It's just for them to remember. Because right now, the brain of an African, it's not an African brain. It's a European brain on an African man. So, of course, that child is going to hate Africa, because he's not thinking with his own brain. He's thinking with the brain of a European. So, my mission right now is be a surgeon. Take out that brain and replace it with their actual brain, so they can genuinely fall back in love with themselves. And once they do that, if they then saw an African child next to them, they would hug them, they would hold them, they'll hold hands with them, because they'll realize, I've just seen my brother, I've just seen my sister. We're like, you know what I'm saying? We're kings and queens. If they understood who we were, and then that caller would come and bow down because he's like, wow, like greatness. I'm seeing greatness right in front of me. That's exactly what would happen. And that's why it's key that we tell our own story, because they say whoever controls the story controls the people, and that's what's happening now. So for us, we need to take back control of our stories.
And do you think you could have written this album, the lyrics to this album, had you not spent the first decade and a bit of your life in Ghana?
I think my journey is quite unique to my story, because I think it wasn't just living in Ghana, because again, our curriculum was still the British curriculum. So it wasn't being in Ghana that taught me about, taking pride in my culture. It's actually growing up and spending time with other people who wanted to know more about who they were, and me traveling across the continent after having my first hit at Zonto and seeing so many different,
which we're going to play in a minute.
Yeah. And seeing so many different beautiful things, and so many different inspiring things, talent entrepreneurs, just all these amazing things that the media wouldn't usually show. So I got to see the truth with my own eyes. So I'm like, okay, cool, this is new Africa. I'm seeing a whole new Africa that I'd never, that I've been told didn't exist. And that's how the album was birthed, because of what I saw, because of the truth, because of my journey. So for me, I made it my mission to create that platform to be able to tell our story.
Well, Luke in Orpington says, for the first time ever, my family have all stopped to listen to LBC, including my 18-year-old son. Great show.
Thank you. I really appreciate
if anybody doubted that we should have done this hour,
I really appreciate that.
Luke in Orpington.
And thank you, Ian, for also giving us a voice.
Not at all. We are going to take some calls soon. So if you've got a question that you'd like to ask Fuse, 0345 6060 973 is the number to call. And coming off the back of the break, we're going to play a little excerpt from Fuse's first hit, Azonto, which I think rivals Dangerous Love
really?
Is my favourite song. 19 minutes past 8.
This is LBC. Ian Dale on LBC. Text 84850.
Now watch me do my zonto, azonto, azonto. Now watch me do my zonto, azonto, azonto. Now watch me do my zonto, azonto. We walk over the haters. Now what you do, my zonto, 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 azonto, 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 zonto, zonto. We walk over the haters.
How could anyone not like that?
Good energy.
I mean, there's an actual dance to that,
Yeah,
isn't there, that people do? Which, if you've been watching us on Global Player, which I forgot to say, we are streaming this live on Global Player and the LBC app. I could have got up and done it, but it would have been a bit embarrassing.
No, you got this, man. You got this. You're coming to the show, right?
I am coming to, yeah, because we should say that Fuse is doing a show on Saturday the 26th of July at the Royal Festival Hall. When I saw it was at the Royal Festival Hall, I did think to myself, really?
You're getting all bougie on us. No. That's going to be lit. Yeah, and trust me, like, my shows are always lively, like, everybody dancing. Like, I want to see, you have to come with your dance moves. If you packed it away, you need to unpack it, put it on your back. When you get there, just unpack it.
Reckon?
And yeah, because we're going in, we're actually going to have a great time.
Well, I did buy tickets this afternoon.
I love that. I love that.
I was expecting freebies, but they weren't on offer, so I paid for them myself.
It's good to support black businesses.
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit more about the sort of variety that there is in Africa. I mean, I don't know whether you can sort of divide Africa up into sort of different regions, but I suppose British people will generally know more about countries that were in the British Empire, so it's only natural that we would do. But there are so many stereotypes, aren't there, about, I mean, particularly Nigeria, I guess. As I think Nigeria's got a reputation as being quite a corrupt country. And I think a lot of probably foreign investors are put off by that sort of thing. And it's, I think, how do modern day Nigerians escape from that reputation? Again,
whoever controls the story controls the people. Everybody has to tell their story from their own lens. If you spoke to, a Nigerian, although a Nigerian would tell you not to trust a Nigerian, that's a funny local thing in Nigeria.
You can say that. I can't.
Although a Nigerian would tell you that, but there's so many different lenses of there's a lot of also great things in Nigeria. There's a lot of great things in Ghana as well. But again, it's how you tell your story. There's also corruption in the UK. It's a lot of corruption. We
shouldn't deny that.
Exactly. There's a lot of corruption everywhere. But it's the story that the UK tells the world, that the world believes. So it's no one is exempt from negativity. It's just about what you focus on. Do you know what I mean? So I think for us, we just want to focus on the positives. We want to focus on, because just for too many years, we've been bashed over the head about how terrible we are as a people, how we used to be chained up, rather than our contributions to the world. And that's what we want to focus on, because I'm just thinking about my daughter growing up in a world where she can be proud of who she is rather than be embarrassed of who she is, because there's nothing more disturbing than your child not wanting to even use their own names, and actually feeling like they're embarrassed of where they're from. I want to build a world where my daughter's proud of who she is. She's a proud Ghanaian, proud Zimbabwean, and she just wants to represent who she is. And it should be the same for every other culture. It's not about highlighting all the corruption, because everything can be worked on. Of course, we have issues across the continent, and we are working on it. But the problem with what's happening now is somebody else ends up telling a story for you, and then they end up bringing the solution that they think that you need, rather than asking you what you think should be done. And that's really what's happening now. There's this sense of the world highlighting our problems and trying to give us solutions, rather than us recognizing what our problems are and finding ways to solve it ourselves and empowering ourselves. And that's the angle that I'm coming from.
How successful are you in Ghana? Are you sort of like, do they regard you as local boy done good, or what, how do they see you?
I'm the most streamed Ghanaian artist from Ghana. I don't know how to explain Afrobeat artist.
Yeah.
But yeah, they obviously, I'm an international artist to them. But yeah, I'm very big in Ghana.
But do you get here again? We've become a little bit controversial. Do you get people saying, "Well, it's all very well for him to talk about sort of spirit of Africa and all the rest of it. Well, why doesn't he come back to Ghana and help us sort of build a really successful nation that he's talking about in his songs?"
Yeah, I live in Ghana, Ian. I don't know if you know. I come to the UK every 2 weeks.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Goodness me!
I know, right?
Flight costs must be astronomical.
I swear. And we don't have our own airlines, so BA's taking all my money. Yeah, there's a lot of problems that.
Oh no, I honestly didn't know that you actually live in Ghana now.
No, I actually live in Ghana.
Right,
so every 2 weeks, I'm back and forth every 2 weeks because my work is here as well. Because obviously, I have to represent the diaspora. You know, because I grew up in Ghana. I also grew up in the UK. So my voice represents both parties. So I have to spend time in both worlds in order to stay in touch with both worlds, in order to represent both regions. So yeah, I go back and forth.
That must be a weird existence, though.
It is.
Living a sort of British life and a Ghanaian life. I mean, what's the biggest difference?
The biggest difference, actually, obviously food, first of all, because if I go to a meeting in the UK, I'm getting like croissants. If I go to a meeting in Ghana, I'm getting like jollof, which is like, proper.
I don't know.
Okay, so jollof is like rice and stew cooked together. It's a lot of education happening on the show. It's like rice and stew cooked together, so it comes ready-made. It's mixed already, so it's very tasty. It's probably one of the most delicious food that you ever have in your life. When I host you in Ghana, you have jollof.
You see, I'm having all this talk about Ghana. I've never been there. It's never been a country I thought, I must go to Ghana.
This is my official invitation. Because you have to know someone in order to be interested in...
Because if you go on a package holiday tour, you're not going to see the real thing.
No, it's not. You need that Fuse ODG host. So I'm here. I'll host you in Ghana. Honestly, let's make it happen.
Tell you what, I'd love to go.
Let's look in a date.
Now, listen, we've got to talk about the Bandaid saga, because that's how I first came across you, when you came in to talk to Nick Ferrari about you and Ed Sheeran deciding not to take part in the revitalisation of Bandaid. And then you came on Cross Question. And we've got a call on that, so rather than me ask the question, let's go to Peter in Haringey. Peter, hi. Are you there, Peter?
Hello, Peter.
He's done a disappearing act on us. Where have you gone, Peter? Well, let's leave him. He's obviously disappeared somehow. How did that come about? Because that sort of propelled you into a news cycle, which you probably weren't used to being in. No.
I mean, it came about because I just stuck to my truth. Again, Bob Geldof called me 2015 or so to be part of Bandaid around that time, and I said to him that it doesn't align with my mission, because my mission is to realign how the world sees Africa and how Africans see themselves. So when he's called me about it, as an artist, I was very excited to be a part of it, but as a purposeful artist who is very much deeply rooted in this purpose, I knew it didn't align with how we were trying to portray Africa. So I said to him, how about we change the lyric and make a song that still dignifies the people, but we can still raise the money that we need to raise, because the whole purpose of this is to raise money to help people. So we can still make a hit song, because all the people that he contacted were in the top 10 at the time. I was in the top 10 at the time as well. So I'm like, we can make a hit song and still raise. And if that's the mission, then we can still raise. But he said he's been operating this model for over 4 years and he wasn't about to change it. And for me, if you're trying to help Africans, the best people to listen to should be Africans. And I felt like his energy didn't really align with what was really needed if he really wanted a long-term solution, because I feel like that's how we have to look at it. It has to be a long-term solution if we're going to help Africans. It needs to come from Africans. You need to connect with Africans, and it just felt like he wasn't trying to listen.
And you've got a track on the new album called We Know It's Christmas.
Yes.
It's a bit of a dig at Bob Geldof, isn't it?
It is, because here's the type of images.
We'll play a little of it in a second.
The type of images that they were portraying was the kind of images I was seeing when I was in school that made me disconnect with myself and with my culture, because I'm like, okay, if this is where I'm from, why would I want to be associated with it? Why would the Caribbeans want to be associated with it? So it definitely contributed to me being ashamed of who I was. And for me, I'm just like, okay, it's 30 years later and you're still saying we don't know whether it's Christmas, you're still saying there's no peace and joy in Africa this Christmas. For me, it's not the truth. You know, so there's ways that we can do this without having to shame the people, because at the time we were raising money for Ebola, and it's like, there are actual people dying. So I know that we need to raise money, but there's ways that we can do it. And I gave the example of Ukraine. You know, UK and America has been able to help Ukraine without having to shame the people, without having to put the people down, without having to show dead bodies on TV. And they were showing dead bodies of Africans live on I think X Factor at the time, X Factor finals. And if you're trying to help someone, you don't. It's just, there's no dignity in showing dead bodies on TV in order to raise money. There's ways you can actually do it without having to do that. And we did that for Ukraine. So for me, I was trying to let him know there's other ways that money can be raised without having to put the people down.
But what did you make of the 40th anniversary celebrations?
I think, again, he's telling his story. I wish the BBC didn't celebrate it, because I feel like in this day and age, it's not something to be celebrated. They had great intentions at the time, and I always say big shout out to the British public because of their love. You know, they genuinely wanted to help the cause. But for me, in the long run, all it did was take away our collective pride as Africans and made us ashamed of who we were, made us turn our backs on who we were, and as a result, you know, we're not even trying to stand up and be the solutions to our own problems, because really we should be solving our own problems. You know, I don't see Africa, you know, shining, relying on aid. Do you know what I mean? And for me, I think what's happening right now even surpasses what Bandaid is. I think the solution surpasses that. And if we're being honest, Bandaid and their obsession for like Africa's poverty is really smokescreen for the actual truth, because the actual truth is Africa's given more to the world than the world's ever given to it. You know, so I don't know whether you know, there's a report by this author, Mark Curtis, and he said that this report came out around 2015-16. Every year there's about $162 billion pumped into the continent in high interest loans. But there's $203 billion that's been extracted out of Africa every year by multinational mining companies, most of whom are actually registered in the UK. So really, Africa's given more to the world than the world gives it. So this obsession of this, you know, weird obsession on our poverty and our struggles is really like an illusion to what's really happening, because when you actually look at the reality, you have these multinational companies registered in the UK. They have mining licenses that span across over 1,000 square kilometers across the continent. That's 4 times the size of the UK. So these guys are running the UK and extracting from the continent, and the locals are suffering, but the UK is benefiting. And so when we're talking about Bandaid and other charitable companies giving to the continent, Africa's actually giving a lot more. I'll give a perfect example. The Niger government. These multinational companies would buy a kilo of uranium for 80 cents per kilo, right? And they would resell it for 200 euros. Since the government stood up and took ownership, of their resources, they've been able to make, they went from making 1 billion annually to making 200 billion. And that's from standing up and actually taking control of their resources. So for me, when we're talking about taking back our narrative and taking back our stories, it's not just that, it's about taking back control of our resources. So the Bandaid stuff, the charitable stuff that, they keep focusing on our poverty, it's an illusion to the actual truth that's happening on ground.
Well, loads and loads of texts and calls coming. We're going to come to your calls after the news. Diane in Cambridgeshire says, Fuse, you're an inspiration. I've downloaded the album. Well done, Ian, for stepping outside of the usual. Well, you've got one download out of this.
Thank you.
I hope a lot of other people will do so as well. And after the news, we'll play you a little bit of the We Know It's Christmas track as well.
Sir.
It's 8:35 on LBC News Headlines with Daisy Steele.
A major incident's been declared after a coach bringing children back from a school trip crashed in Somerset this afternoon. Emergency services are still working to free pupils from the vehicle. It happened near Wedden Cross, around 7 miles from Minehead. It's emerged the details of more than 100 Britons, including spies and special forces, were included in a huge data breach at the MOD. Defence sources have said those who endorsed Afghans who'd applied to be brought to the UK were included in the spreadsheet, which was leaked. Diane Abbott's the fifth MP to be suspended from the Labour Party this week. She's under investigation by the party for comments she made about racism. LBC weather, showers for Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales and Western England tonight. Dry and clear elsewhere, a low of 11.
The all-new LBC app. News your way. Download it for free from the App Store. This is LBC. Ian Dale. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Now them used to be full of pride. I wish Mr. Garvey could see this. Malcolm X and dream this. Kwame Nkrumah could see this. This feels like 6 March 57, but the remix.
We know when it's Christmas. We know when it's Christmas. We know when it's Christmas. Christmas. We know when it's Christmas. We know when it's Christmas. We know when it's Christmas.
You can't tell me nothing.
Take that, Bob Geldof.
We know it's Christmas.
We are, if you just tuned in, we're in the company of Fuse ODG. He's talking about his new album, which, now I've lost the title of it, is Spirit of the New Africa.
Yeah.
And he's going to take some calls. We've got loads and loads of calls coming in. Let's go to Cozy in Croydon. Hello.
Hello, Ian. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very relieved that you're on the line. I was thinking that you were doing another Peter there. What would you like to ask, Cozy?
Fuse, Etase.
Hey, Mpacho, Charlie saying, nice one.
Yeah, that's a local dialect asking, how are you doing? Fuse, well done, bravo to you. We'll try our best to support you.
Thank you.
Your up-and-coming concert. Fuse, there's something challenging in this country. I've got 4 children here, and they have not even a single interest of going back to Ghana.
Yeah.
Probably it's my fault.
How old are they?
Being an icon, one is 17 years. He turned 17 last week. And the other one is 15, and I've got 11 years, and I've got 7 years. They have no keen interest going back to Ghana. Apparently, they still think that we live in the midst of animals, and we're still in the jungle. I've tried everything to diffuse that mentality. We need role models like you, because you grew up in Ghana. How can you assist and encourage them? So at least they will have that keen interest in going back to Ghana, not everlastingly or indefinitely, but to at least visit their country and eventually help the country progress. How can you impact on them?
But this is exactly what we're talking about. But Kofi, how can you expect your children to want to go to Ghana when they were taught by the European curriculum? Do you get what I mean? Like, they were taught by the European curriculum, so of course they want to go to Ibiza instead. They want to go to, do you get what I mean, Ian? Like, they're not going to want to go to Ghana.
But isn't it a natural thing to want to know where you came from? I mean, I'm doing my family history research.
Their brain It's not an African brain. It's a European brain in their head. So, of course, they're going to think like a white person. And the only people that make it out of that are, if as a parent, you go the extra mile to educate them about their history. So there's parents who do Saturday classes, and that's why, Kofi, that's why we've launched this educational app, School of New Africa. Get them to download it, let them learn about who they are, let them learn about Ghana, let them learn about their languages, because that's what's going to help them fall in love with themselves.
The next question's about this as well. So, Kosi, thank you for that. Sarah is in Reigate. Hello, Sarah.
Hi there. Hi. Thank you so much for taking my call. Bravo, Fuse. You're doing what a lot of us are desperately seeking to do, and you have the platform and the reach to do it.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
So proud of you. My question, actually following on from what the previous caller has said and what you've said, I believe education is key.
That's it.
And I know you've pinpointed that too. So do you have any interest, slightly suggesting here, of maybe going into educational material, things that can be provided in our schools, championing the change of what is actually being taught, which is so outdated, even in Africa. We spend so much time learning about the European world and know nothing about us. So any sort of educational material, any interest to maybe branch into that element?
So I was just saying, we've just launched an educational app called School of New Africa, and it teaches from an African lens. So the child gets to learn about who they are, they get to learn about their history, they get to learn about the power that's in who they are, the power that's in their mother tongue. So yes, it's out now. Every parent can download it, and you don't have to be African to download it, because we had to learn about European history. So, and it's okay to also want to learn about our culture, you know, so definitely it's open to everyone, and we've made it free now, so every parent can download it for free. You can have access to it. So yes, we do have those materials, and we're more than happy to also partner with schools in order to provide these educational materials to them. So what we've done is we've partnered with some of the best historians across the world, from UK, America, Africa, you know, Ghana, Kenya. We have all these historians on our board, and that's how we write the curriculum. Big shout out to Nigel Stewart, who helps put the curriculum together. It's an amazing curriculum that honestly it talks about us, it talks about our history, and it talks about history that goes past 400 years. You know, not history that talks about how we were enslaved, but history that talks about how, you know, we used to be the first mathematicians, the first surgeons, you know, the philosophers, emperors. You know, it really empowers your child, and it prepares your child for the external world. The last caller was saying their children don't want to go back to Ghana. It's because they don't know who they are. So this app really empowers the child and reminds them of how powerful they are. You know, it's really tapping, it's replacing that brain, you know, giving them the original brain that deserves to be in their head. And that's what this app does. Is honestly, every parent, every black parent needs to make sure they download it. It's called School of New Africa, and it's really helping your child remember who they are. And as a parent, you'd learn too, because they never taught us our history in school. Ian.
But sure, you said every black parent. I would say every parent, because if white Europeans, for want of a better phrase, don't understand more about African history, how can they understand the African present?
Thank you for correcting me.
There's your quote.
I love that. Yeah. Let's get the team to write that down. Every parent needs to download this, because if we want to live in a world where, you know, we both... Just in a world where we both respect each other, you know, just like the first caller, you know, he needs to download it so he can actually respect, you know, Africans, you know, so every parent, and especially if you want your child to have a diverse view of the world, then you need to download it for your child as well as a non-African, for sure.
Sarah, thank you very much indeed for your call. Fatima says, love this hour. It's amazing. And as an African woman tonight, I feel like a queen.
Yes, Fatima.
Fuse ODG, thank you for everything that you do. Look, I wish I could print off every single text that's coming in tonight.
I want to sit on your lap so I can read it. Cause it
steady. People will talk.
I just did that just to, you know, just to get more attention, man. But yeah, I actually want to read.
That would get attention.
I know, right?
But it's not going to happen. It's 8:45.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Breakfast with Tom Swarbrick on LBC.
Victims of domestic abuse are to be protected under a £53 million drive to target the most dangerous offenders. Jess Phillips is the Minister for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women and Girls. I wonder what you make of, or what you felt about, the sentence offered to the fellas of the Sycamore Gap Tree, some 4 and a bit years. And yet I've got a list of people here who have committed violence against young women and girls, including a 17-year-old raping a 13-year-old girl and being acquitted.
You cannot look at the comparator. I've spent my life saying that there is a fundamental problem where policies around women's safety matter less than bins. And in this case, it feels like trees.
Nick Ferrari at Breakfast with Tom Swarbrick. Back tomorrow morning from 7. Listen on your radio, on Global Player and the new LBC app.
Do it for your wife.
Text 84850. This is LBC.
I came with the spirit of Sunday Yaka. I can never be afraid. I came with the energy of Shaka. You go things to your crave. I came as the child of my father. I give thanks and praise. And I came with the spiritual armor. Make the anointing spray. I came with the spirit of Sunday Yaka. I can never be afraid. I came with the energy of Shaka. You go things in your grave. I came as the child of my father. I give thanks and praise. And I came with the spiritual armor. Make the anointing spray.
And that's another track called Sundiata from Fuse ODG's new album, Spirit of New Africa. Just a reminder that he's doing a concert at the Royal Festival Hall on Saturday, the 26th of July. I'm going to go. Are you? Yes. That's what I want to know. Yes. Because we want a full house.
Yes,
because that's what he deserves.
That's it. Thank you.
Now, that song, it's got some interesting lyrics as well.
Yeah, it has actually. There's a line in there where I said, I told them from Bandaid to BBC that we're the Africans who know what the children needs. And it just talks about allowing us to have our voice, because for too many years we've just been voiceless and our story's being told for us. And this song talks about the pen, you know, us getting the pen back again to correct our narrative and to correct who we are and to correct our identities, because we're going through an identity crisis. And I feel for Kofi, who said his kids don't even want to go back to where they're from because they don't know who they are.
I bet they will when they get to an older age, because I think it is a natural instinct for all of us to want to know where we came from.
But it's actually happened with a lot of kids through Afrobeats, you know, because Afrobeats is everywhere now. So it's like the kids want to know where the music is from, and it leads them back to who they are. So Afrobeats has indirectly been educating these kids about where they're from.
And that's interesting in itself, because when I was, I don't know, in my 20s, 30s, and I sort of discovered some African music then. It was in the world music section of HMV. Mm-hmm. It was all sort of put into this one bit. Yeah. But now it's a genre in its own right, isn't it?
Exactly. And even from your story, I see how passionate you are about going to South Africa because of Mango Groove. you've heard music that's almost becoming a map, you know, for you to want to go to South Africa. And it's the same. Afrobeats is literally providing a map to help these kids find their way back to where they're from. So again, it's education.
And you hear songs from one artist that you like, and then that leads into others. Like
Exactly.
for me, Jaluka, Johnny Clegg, people like that, Freshly Ground.
Exactly.
And, I mean, in case people think I'm faking this, I do actually buy the songs from all of these people.
I believe you, because you're saying some serious names here.
But let's add another discordant note into the conversation. Kyle says, I'm absolutely astonished by your current guest. How disrespectful to the millions which Sir Bob Geldof raised for Africa. I've never heard such disrespect for a massive fundraising effort, which, let's be frank, saved many African lives. He should be ashamed. That's Kyle in Pontypool.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was an initiative that was coming from the right place. The intention was in the right place. And again, the British public stood up to the challenge, and, you know, they genuinely wanted to help. And again, from a humanitarian perspective, it was very needed. But all I was saying, or all I've been saying, is that there's a way we can raise money without putting down the dignity and the collective pride of the people. And that's what happened. Over the period of 40 years, the African narrative has been so horrible that we've lost a lot more money than we've actually gained. And I was saying earlier, there's a lot more money that's been taken out of the continent than has been given. And the reason why that's happening is because Africans are not caring about where they're from anymore, so they don't know the issues that's happening, so other people are taking advantage. Same way those kids don't want to go back to where they're from, is because of how it's been portrayed, because of images that Bandaid put out. I know that the intentions were in the right place, but we ended up losing ourselves in the process. We ended up losing our kids. Kofi has lost his kids due to those kind of images. And all I'm saying is that there's a way we can still raise money without having to put down the collective pride of a people. That's all I'm saying. And I'm forever grateful for the British public for standing up to raise money. But there's a way we can raise money without putting down the dignity of a people. We did that with Ukraine. We've done that with so many other countries in Europe. Why can't we do the same for the continent?
John says the best way to experience the rich and colourful culture of the Ghanaian people is to attend a Ghanaian wedding.
Oh my gosh.
Having had the privilege of filming many Ghanaian weddings, including one that went viral with 100 million views from St Martin in the Fields, I can truly say they're the warmest and generous people I've ever met, and they love their food. You see, you're now encouraging me even more to go to Ghana.
Yeah.
Let's go to Rose in Ealing. Hello, Rose.
Hi. I'm being blown away. I'm sat in my car since you started. I can't even go in my house yet because I don't want to miss it.
That is how I rate the success of a radio show.
Amazing.
And I haven't listened to LBC for months. I don't know what made me put it on anyway. Congratulations to everybody. Well done, Ian. Well done for this. I really appreciate it. My question is, 40-odd years ago, when I'm 58 now, so 40-odd years ago when we were at school, I'm black, Caribbean. We were fed the narrative, as you say, about slavery, etc., etc. And then it was little things like, I don't know, an article in the newspaper that highlighted different things that made us want to look further and further. But that's all it was. But my question is now, do you think that, I mean, I know what you're saying and what you're doing is amazing. I think it has been started already, and you wouldn't have been able to be speaking how you are now if we didn't start somewhere. Do you agree? Before I go on, is that fair?
What was the question?
40 years ago, this journey had started already.
Yeah.
And if we hadn't started then, you wouldn't have been able to pick it up now and continue, because now we've got things like social media, streaming, be invited on radio stations, etc., and like magnifying all these things. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand your question. I think you're trying to say that you guys started the work and we're continuing it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And I think that it's blown up more now because, like you're saying, young people didn't really cared for like African culture. We saw you as very, inferior, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And now because it's coming through like, what do you call it, Afrobeats and streaming.
Yeah, you're right.
And everything, and and the food as well. Everybody likes a bit of jollof rice. It's all. So we want to know more about that.
Yeah.
Where does this come from? What country? Tell me more about it. And it's just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, you're right.
I can't see anything going back or standing still. It's blown up.
Yeah, there's a self-love revolution happening right now. That's what's happening.
And it's gone wild. It's going wild. You've really blown up. I mean, I've never heard of you before until I heard the story about the Bandaid thing. That's made me sit up and
Me too.
Well,
okay, Rose, we're going to have to leave it there because I've only got 5 minutes left. John says, I've just got my tickets for the Royal Festival Hall.
Yes, John.
I'll be going with my girlfriend Naomi, who is from Accra in Ghana.
Nice.
Livy says, loving this. As an Irish person, we had to resurrect our language and culture post-independence in 1922 and look at Ireland now.
Thank you.
Kunga, or is it Kunga, in Peckham. Good evening.
Yeah, both is fine.
Right.
But yeah, let me just firstly say thank you for airing this young man. And Brother Fuse, the Hidden Truth team, definitely appreciate the work that you're doing right now.
Kunga.
So big up. Big up. I won't keep you. I'm currently stretching in a South London park in nature as I prepare myself for the first time. Yeah, for the first time in Ghana. I arrive next Tuesday, inshallah.
Nice.
For the first time in Ghana. But before I just touch, because I've got a question for you. But I just want to just make sure, because Ian loves Margaret Thatcher. All right?
I never expected her to rear her head in this hour.
We're gonna link it. We're gonna link it.
Okay.
And so just briefly touch upon Yara Santiwa, and just when we talk about African leaders and obviously female leaders, give them a little bit of a 2-minute lesson on Yara Santiwa. I've been blessed to live in Ethiopia as well, and the only time I saw flies on a young child's face was when they were actually eating mangoes. So
mangoes are sweet. Can't blame the flies.
There you go. The narrative of flies around babies' faces was definitely washed away when I first arrived in Addis. And if you look at Addis now, look at images of Addis. That image of Ethiopia is far, far removed.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So my question though is, I arrived for the first time in Ghana next week, landing Tuesday morning in Accra, has been mentioned. But what are the 3 things that I need to be doing for my ascendance to Ghana? Please tell me.
I'll start with the Yasantua, saying I should tell Ian about Yasantua.
Yeah, very briefly, because we're running out of time.
The best thing is to download the app School of New Africa, because we talk about all these powerful leaders.
He never misses a plug, does he?
But that's you would literally learn about Yasantua on the app. Download School of New Africa, you get to learn about all these powerful African leaders. And Ian, he just exposed you about you being in love with Margaret Thatcher. I don't know why that even came into play.
I'm not ashamed of it.
I know, right? But
I've just written a book about her. In fact, I'll give you a signed copy if you like.
The way he just said it, so add Yasantua to it, basically. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You need to download the app so you can also... I'll sign the app for you, actually, Ian.
You'll sign an app? How can you do that?
Don't worry, we'll work out.
So what should you do? He's going to
You're
Ghana
going to Ghana next Tuesday. One of the things that you need to do is go to Elmina Castle, which, it teaches about a bit of our history. Also, I think you should go to Adan, which is you could do like a boat cruise there, and you get to some good food there as well. You get to see a bit of nature, and try to go to Kumasi as well, and so you can see the Royal Palace and kind of learn more about our rich history and heritage. You see, so in Kumasi there's this thing this man, he commanded a golden stool from the sky, and it's never touched the ground before, and that's the soul of the city in Kumasi. So when you go Kumasi, they still respect the royal kingdom, they still respect that golden stool because it has so much power in it. So go to Kumasi and learn about all of that. There's a lot of rich history in Ghana, so you're gonna have a great time, bro. And I ain't even going to start with the nightlife.
Oh my goodness!
You would never get to sleep in Ghana, honestly.
It's not quite at the watershed yet, so we can't talk about the nightlife in Ghana in any great detail right now. Listen, I wish we could spend the next hour talking to you as well. Well, it has gone fast, but I hope you'll come back because
I'm ready to come back.
You have really inspired a lot of people, I mean, judging from the text that I'm getting here,
Thank you.
from a lot of people who, should we say, didn't expect to be inspired, but they have been. So let's give you 2 more plugs. The new album, Spirit of New Africa by Fuse ODG. Go and download it now. And if you're in London on Saturday and want to see Fuse in a concert at the Royal Festival Hall, you can get your tickets from the Royal Festival Hall or the usual ticket outlets. Thank you so much. What more
thank
can
you
I
for
say?
having me. Just say ra. Ra, ra. Just say ra. Just say ra.
I can't do that
Just say
rolling
ra.
R's
It just
thing.
means ra. It just means ra. It's energy.
No, because I'll just say ra.
That's good enough. Ra, 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 ra.
I'll let you do it. You do it